One of the important traits that humanity is beginning to allow themselves to adapt to is that they have different frequencies of consciousness. And each frequency of consciousness provides them with that frequency of reality. And so if you are really busily working within your home and doing whatever it is you're doing within your home, then for that now, your reality is inside of your home. But if you were to go out and, say, go into a swimming pool, then your reality would be in water. You would be a being that lives in water. And you don't have the protection of the home. But you do have the ability to go down deeper in the water if you need to, or you can go up to the top of the water and you can leave the water. You could leave the water and jump back into the water and leave it and jump back in, just like children do. They like the jumping in the water as much as being in the water. And that is something that can happen in life. That jumping into something that you know is safe, or you're pretty sure that it's safe, and you just want to jump into it. You don't want to ponder it, because if you get too much pondering and too much questioning, you kind of lose your nerve after a while. You know, I remember one time when I was a teenager, they had a big swimming pool, you know, a community swimming pool, and they had a high dive. And so I went all the way up to the top of the high dive. But the problem was, by the time I got to the top, I was terrified. And so I made everybody underneath me go down, because there was no way I was going to jump. That big, long thing, no, it was too scary. And it was like a kind of an embarrassing moment, but it was a moment that I actually really knew that I was not ready to do that. And each person, this is the Arcturians again, each person, you get to pick what is interesting for you. And you get to say, okay, I thought I wanted to do that, but when I'm looking at it straight in the face, it's like, no, I don't want to do that. And that is fine. It is fine, because you are learning to listen to your own inner self. And your own inner self will say, no. Now, maybe if Suzanne had jumped off into that water, she would have had a great time. But maybe she would have not had a good time. Maybe she would have bumped into somebody else, or something would have happened. And the trouble is, when people are making a decision about should I or should I not, you don't know what's on the other side of the should. Did you want to talk about it a little bit, Danny? I know about the other side of the should.
I think that ties it really wonderfully back into living in the present and living out of the stagnation, and being able to recognize that you can take that reflection inwards however you'd like to come to a decision that you align to or that feels best. But once you find that, it can be really tricky not to be like, okay, but if I did this, then what would this outcome be? And if I did this differently? And then it becomes, you get into that rabbit hole and you totally get out of the present. And you don't even realize that, whoa, I'm on the top of this high dive already. And I've been standing here for 5 minutes deciding all the different options of what could happen. But if you get so stuck on the coulds, then you miss out on the actual doing, on the actual decision. So how long do you want to stop yourself from being in motion? I think that's the real question that we need to ask ourselves as we move forward with these incoming energies and with what is coming up internally in our own process. What is going to either stop us from moving, or what is going to propel us to move forward, depending on what we're aligned with in that now.
Yes, and we, the Galactics, would like to share within this now that we have had starships that have circled planet Earth. And some people have seen them. And they've been able to allow themselves to believe that it was real and that no, they weren't crazy, no, they weren't asleep, no, they didn't make it up. Yes. And they don't actually look exactly like a starship because it's so far away. It's more of the thinking that you look and the thinking that you see. This is one of the things that people will need to trust, that I am thinking it, and so it is real, as opposed to, oh, I was just thinking it. Yes, and sometimes you are just thinking it, but sometimes the thinking is the knowing. But if that knowing is something that you're not going to go out and tell 10 friends about, you think, oh, no, that was just thinking, because you don't want to share it. But if you can share what you thought that you knew, then you have opened up. You have opened up your courage. You have opened up your courage to take that leap over to the deep water, to take that leap to do that thing that you always wanted to do when you thought, no, I can't possibly do that, or to go to that place that, oh no, that's too dangerous, I can't do that, or oh, that's too far away, I don't know if I want to do that. Well, that's fine. You don't have to do it. But it's the ability to make that choice within yourself, not from a, oh, I should, or I can't, or I must, or I wouldn't, but to allow yourself to really go into your heart chakra and to go up into your crown chakra, to feel how the light is hitting the crown and into your third eye, so that it's not just an imagination, it's a perception from this higher frequency of yourself, and then allowing yourself to go into your throat chakra. And are you actually going to share? Now, you do not have to share, but sharing is a confirmation to yourself that you believe it. Because if you don't believe it, then you probably won't share it.
Yes, I think that's important to recognize, is how am I feeling like I can safely share this? And sometimes that just starts with sharing it with yourself. And that brings it back to that multidimensional experience, because we're multidimensional beings. So when you perceive something like a starship that doesn't naturally resonate to the third dimension, then your first quote unquote task might be, okay, I believe myself enough to know that that was a ship that I saw. So I'm going to share that experience with my third dimensional self, with my everyday human self. I'm going to write it down, speak it, act it, take a picture, whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. And then from there it can expand to, okay, am I comfortable enough to share this with others? Do I want to write a blog, make a video? Do I want to maybe just tell a friend, or maybe just tell someone that I know would be comfortable enough to have a conversation like that with? And it really sounds like the starships especially are coming up a lot now. And one thing that you, the Arcturians, mentioned in one of our last couple videos is that Gaia is being assisted in a way that she has not been able to have been assisted before by the Galactics, because of how much higher dimensional energy is being grounded in. So perhaps you could touch a little bit on that.
Well, the first thing is to monitor your reaction. And if you get frightened, then why are you frightened? And if you get excited, then why are you excited? And if you're somewhere in between, wow, that's really cool. Oh, I'm sure I'm crazy. Well, maybe I'm not crazy, but could that really be happening? Can I really trust myself? If you can allow yourself to say, I don't know exactly what's going on with me, but I am courageous enough that I'm going to allow myself to believe it. And then when I believe it, I can write down what I experienced. I can draw a picture of what I experienced. I can maybe tell a friend that I feel I can tell about my experience. And it doesn't have to be an experience of seeing a starship. Humans are having many challenging experiences within this time. And so some people are thinking, well, I feel so lonely within this situation of what is going on? What's going on with our world? What's going on? You know, what is happening? What is this? And to reach out to others and to write down what you think it might be and to share what you write down, or draw a picture and share what your picture is, because there's many means of communication. And the Galactics, one of the things that they are waiting on before they show themselves more is a state of community within the beings on the planet, so that the beings feel like they are not alone. And when they feel like they are not alone, then they can share their experience. You know, I had this weird dream that I was on a starship. I mean, it was really cool. I'd like to tell you all about it. And then your friend says, oh yeah, tell me, that's a cool thing. I'd like to know about that. Or I looked up in the sky and I saw this star. That was not a star. That was a starship. I know it was a starship. I don't know why I knew that, but I knew it, and I'm going to trust myself.
Yes, trusting yourself helps you to trust your experiences. And I think being so immersed in this, okay, I have to go with the general consensus to figure out if this is real or is my opinion right. At the end of the day, it's your experience. So who are you trying to prove anything to? Who are you trying to convince? And if we put our energy into the convincing, the proving, then we're missing out on the experience itself of, okay, what is this doing for me? How is this assisting me in this now for my reason for being here? What is the bigger picture? Because if nothing is an accident, then it's no accident that you saw the ship in the first place, but it's also no accident that you thought and believed that it was a ship. Yes. Our beliefs and our thoughts and our perceptions are not accidental. And so if we can release our guilt behind what we perceive and what we think, then it gets a lot easier to get to the core of our beings. Of it's like any tree. You can, if you had a tree that was dying and you needed to remove it, you wouldn't just cut all the branches and then get to the base. You would start with the base. And so it's the same thing with what we're experiencing. We can fight the branches and the dead leaves of our emotions and what we're releasing all day, but if we don't get to the core, then it's an uphill battle.
Getting to the core. In fact, humans can use their wonderful ability of imagination, because imagination is fifth-dimensional thought. And in your imagination, you can go into the core of the planet. And Suzanne has gone into the core of the planet quite a few times. And it is a wonderful experience.
And if anyone is interested in experiencing going to the core, I will leave a link in the description of this video to previous video where Sue and the Arcturians take us into the core of Gaia. It's a very enjoyable experience, very fun, very light. So if you are interested in that, I will leave the link in the description somewhere in this video. So I'm going to leave it over to you, Sue, and the Arcturians and the Galactics. And how would you like to end? We have talked about the solar eclipse energies, huge, and chaos before change. And I think that's really the core, if you will, of this conversation. So perhaps you'd like to speak on that chaos before the change and these energies that are coming up right now.
Yes. Chaos is where that which has been pushed together so tightly that the individuality gets too merged. And so therefore people have lost something by merging. And so this merging is a merging of a ability to know, and a merging of an acceptance of someone else accepting what you are saying, even though it might be, a little bit beyond one's ability to say, okay, I believe that, but they can think about it. And also the merging of experiences and dreams that have been pushed away because it was too weird and who would you tell it about? But if you, those who are listening, just take some time and go into a little meditation or take a walk or do whatever it is that makes you feel grounded and opens up your heart chakra and opens up your third eye, and allow yourself to remember some important things in your life that have become forgotten. And sometimes they became forgotten because you didn't like it and so you wanted to forget it. And so that's a part of yourself that really needs a big hug and a big kiss. And look, it was a hard time, but look, you're okay now. You look at what you've learned from that. And so you can look at what's happened in the past and bring it into the present and feed it. Feed it your love, feed it your understanding, and know that there was a reason for it, and now you're ready to use that reason. And it's when that state of readiness comes in, that is when the states of consciousness starts expanding. That is when your third dimensional self that says, yes, this is okay, no, that's okay, that's not okay, goes into your fourth dimensional self. And your fourth dimensional self is much more creative. And so creative people, they're used to seeing something they've never seen, or reading something they've never read, or drawing or writing something that's new. And so as you go into that fifth dimensional expression of yourself, then this new component of yourself is coming into you, and you're going, yes. Back when that first happened, perhaps I wasn't ready yet, but I'm ready now. I'm ready to see this new thing. And then you can move into these higher dimensional expressions of, yes, of course there would have to be a core to the planet. Everything that's living has some form of a core. So why would not Gaia have some form of a core? And if we have that ability, if we can believe that we have that ability to move beyond just our third dimensional self, but into our fourth dimensional creative self and into our fifth dimensional galactic self. Now, that is where the fun begins, because then you are able to even go outside of the planet, inside of a starship, and look down at the planet. And so you get to look down at a component of you that you are now in the process of integrating this fifth-dimensional expression of yourself, which is your galactic self, and integrating your fourth-dimensional self, which is your creative self, with your third-dimensional self, which is your daily life. And bringing all those components of yourself into a one